Okay. Ed, will you grab a notepad and a calculator? All right. Okay, so today we are doing our last day of regression. So if you'll take a look at your notes for today, we're going to go over the two types that you've already learned. Yes? Yeah, I think there's a pencil in that cup right there. Do you see it? Is there one? Okay. Okay, so the first type that we learned was last week. Okay, for linear regression, you're trying to find a line of best fit. And then if you remember, you're going to need all three of these equations. So will you make sure that you write them down? For a straight line, meaning that your dots kind of go like this. Remember, they don't have to be perfect, but they should be kind of like somewhat making a linear shape. Okay, or what I mean by that is a straight line. Okay. Here's your equation. It's y1 squiggle. Because remember, we're using that computer program still. And then it's mx1 plus b. But now listen, you're only going to use that equation when it's making a straight line between all your dots. Okay? Then last class, we learned how to do a different type. And that was when it was an exponential. And it's when your dots did this. That instead of being a straight line, they kind of ended up like making more of a curve. Okay? So if your graphs make this shape, instead of calling it a line of best fit, we called it a curve of best fit. Okay, so put right here, curve of best fit. Okay. And that, you're going to do that. Your equation is y1 squiggle ab to the x1. Okay, that's what we learned last class. Okay, also remember that for both of those, you still look at your R to measure how accurate it is. So remember, a 1 is perfect, a -1 is perfect, but anything less than a 1, maybe like closer to 0, means that it's pretty bad. Okay, so I'm going to fill in the blank here that your R and your R squared, those both measure how accurate your model is. Okay, those both measure how good your line is, or in this case, how good your curve is. Okay, but a 1 is totally perfect. Anything less than a 1 is not perfect. Okay, so here's the new one. This is the one that we're adding to it today. What if your dots don't make a straight line and they don't make a curve, but they make a U shape? So I want you to draw a couple of dots, okay, that kind of go up and then they start coming back down. Okay, that would be quadratic. Let me zoom out a little bit for that. Okay, so quadratic is when your dots don't go up or down, they do a little bit of both. Okay, that would be quadratic. So that would be the process of matching your data to a parabola. Yes. Of best fit. Okay. So you can do a line of best fit, linear, a curve of best fit is exponential, and then the last option is if it's a parabola or a U shape, that's quadratic. Okay, let me give you the equation. This one's a little bit longer than the other ones, but it's fine because we already have learned how to do the other ones. Put y1 squiggle. That's the same every single time. AX squared plus BX plus C. AX squared plus BX plus C. But then remember, for these equations, what number do you have to put behind the x's? Do you remember? Just like on all the other ones. What does your x have to have with it? Okay, like look at this x here and look at this x here. What number has to be with the x's? A little tiny one, right? So I'm going to put a little 1 and a little 1. Okay, just like your y is the same. Your y has to have a little 1 on it. Okay? And then the r squared is the exact same thing. It tells you how accurate your curve is. Okay, so we're only going to do 3 examples today. So we make sure that you are paying attention for all 3. Okay, we're going to start with number 1. Okay, get out your computers and go to desmos.com. Once you go to desmos.com, I want you to open up your little chart. Okay, so remember that the way that you do that is you're going to hit the little plus sign at the top. You're going to open up the little chart. All of this should look very familiar. We've been doing this for 3 days. Okay, and then open up your table right here. Then from there, I want you to take the table on your notes here, and I want you to type those numbers into your computer. Okay, so I'm going to type mine in up here, and then I'll come around and help you. Okay, but it's this table right here that you're putting into Desmos. All right, so you're in Desmos, opening up your chart, and then typing in your numbers, please. Okay, they're the same numbers on number 1. Switch that for a minus. As you're typing in your dots, you should see them showing up on the graph. Look at mine real quick. Do you see how this makes a U shape? Okay, you may not see it on yours. You may have to kind of scroll out a little bit. But do you see how that's a U? And anytime that it's a U, this is the regression that you're going to do. We're going to type in this equation right here to the into the online calculator. Okay. So I'm going to put it back up on the screen. It's right here. It's going to be Y1 squiggle. Y1 squiggle. Then AB, or I'm sorry, AX1 squared plus BX1 plus C. Okay, so it should look like this. Okay, look at that on the side of my screen. Okay, this is what you're doing for quadratic regression. So you're typing in a different equation, but other than that, it's the same process. So go into, and then just squiggle this here. And then your A should be a 1, B is a 6, D is a -9. Wait, let me know what we're doing from there. Should be your Y1. Y1. Then your squiggle is in the top corner. Then A. Then X1. And then you want to do a square. So do shift 6 to go up top and put your 2. And then put your 2. Then go out of that to the right one. Plus. But you don't want to be up in the exponent, so just hit the right there. That's exactly right. So now plus. What comes next? BX. Oops. Yeah, we equals there. So shift. BX. And then remember, anytime you BX. And then don't forget the 1 on every X you type, please have 1 and then plus C. Plus C, yeah. Here's, where is that? Just the fraction part. So put the 1 first, then do shift 6 to go into your exponent, and then put your there. There you go.
Are we able to do this tonight?
Yeah, I can trace them. It's a little different, but it's, if you think it's easy, I'll show you on it. Yeah. Okay, let's write down your answer. We're only doing 3 questions so that you have plenty of time to finish the practice on your own. So go back to your paper. Okay, your general equation is y equals, write it down. AX squared plus BX plus C. But now on my screen, I see what the A, the B, and the C are supposed to be. For today, we're just going to do 1 decimal each time. We're not going to do the 2 decimals like we've been doing. Now, for these, they all came out to whole numbers. So what was my A? It's a 1. Y equals 1x squared plus. What's my B? So 6x. And then what's my C? So instead of putting a +9, I'll put a -9, but it's the same thing. Okay, then it asks me for my R squared number. So look on your screen, it's a 1. And what type of correlation is 1? Is it weak, mid, strong, or perfect? Perfect is correct. Okay. So remember, anytime you get a 1 or a -1, that's a perfect match. It goes through every single point. Okay, can you do it? What was that? That is a 6. But it is not a very good 6. All right, we're going to skip number 2. So will you go to number 3, please? We're not going to do number 2. We're just going to skip to number 3. Okay, first thing I want you to do is come over here to your Desmos, exit out the old boxes, and then open up a new table. Okay, you're putting in these numbers right here. Okay, and then remember what I told you last time, look at your dots. Do you see on mine how they're making a U shape? That they just barely rounded the corner? That tells us that it's quadratic. Okay, that tells us that it's quadratic. Okay, then in your box 2, you're going to type in the equation that I showed you. And it should look like what's on the screen. We're doing just 3 and 4. Yeah, the last 2. This is number 3 though. So no number 2, just number 3. Yes. No, keep it negative. And show up, yeah. You change your table? Oh wait, hold on, we're doing this one. So 0, 1 through 5 are fine, but change your Y's to 4.5. Then 8. Number 2 was it? Yeah, we just. That's okay. Yeah. Ok, es porque aquí tienes una X con un poquito 2, la Y con un poquito 2, debe ser un poquito cambiar. So, push a la izquierda y poner un yo no sé, yo estoy haciendo. Okay, so we're doing what number are we doing, y'all? 3. Okay, so put y equals. What is my A this time? Okay, negative 0.5 x squared plus, okay, 4x, and then plus, perfect. Okay, then look at your r squared. What is it this time? Your r squared? It's a 1, which is perfect. Okay. All right, now this one has a couple extra parts, so I just want you to pay attention to it, make sure you know how to do it. This one asks you to sketch the graph. Now, I don't need your graph to look perfect, but I want you to draw a little graph right here. And then I want you to draw the shape that you see on your screen. So do you see how it went uphill and then downhill? So I'm going to draw that onto my sheet right here. So let me shrink this in a little bit so you can see both. Okay, so I'm going to make it go up and then down. Now, notice that on here, okay, my parabola keeps going on this side and on this side. Okay, but here's the thing. If you actually read the word problem, okay, let me read it to you. It says, this is the height of a baseball off of a guy's bat. The baseball goes up into the air and then lands in the stands. So question, for this part of the ball, does it make sense that, does it make sense that the ball would hit the ground and then keep going down?
No.
No. So that's why this part of the graph and this part of the graph don't really count. Okay, so really you only care about the ball goes up and then the ball goes down and then it's over. No extra like on the other parts of the graph. Okay, from here, you're not done yet. I want you to click on the highest dot on your parabola to know how high it goes. So watch my mouse. When I come over here and I click on that very top dot, what is it? You see it on my screen? 4 comma what? Okay, that is the highest that the ball can go. So I'm going to label that right here on my notes onto my graph. Okay, there's 2 other intercepts that I want you to click on to find those numbers. The next one is going to be this intercept right here. So will you click on it on your screen? And then it should tell you what this number is. Right there. So I'm going to come over here to the x-axis is here. I'm going to click. What is this number right here when I click on it?
9.
It is 90. Very good. You see it right there on my screen? So that's 90. And then the last dot that I want you to find is the y-intercept. That's this dot right here. So will you just put your mouse on that dot and click to see how high that dot is right there? And I actually don't even have to click. If I just kind of put my mouse over it, it shows up. But it's 0, 4.5. So here's what happens to the baseball. It starts at 4.5 feet. It goes all the way up to 12.5 feet. And then it comes back down to the ground. So your domain, do you remember domain? You're pinching in the sides of the graph with your hands. So I would be taking my hands and like pinching in this way. What are my hands going to stay between? What 2 X's?
0.
Yes, 0 and past 4. What's this hand? How far over? 9. Very good. So for your domain, I want you to put X between 0 and 9. Oh, y'all can't see it. Okay, X is between 0 and 9 because that's how far it reaches on this axis. Okay, this is 0 and then this is 9. Okay, then last little bit of this. For the range, we want to do how low it goes and how high it goes. So instead of shutting the door sideways, you're going to shut the window this way. So if I were to pinch my hands this way, how low is my lower hand if it's all the way down here on the x-axis? How low is that? That would be 0. And how high does it go?
12.5.
12.5. Very good. So your y is between 0 and 12.5. So for domain, you're pinching the doors in to the side. And then for range, you're pinching the window down to see how high it goes. Okay. Last little bit of this we did last class. It says, what would the baseball's height be at 8 seconds? Go into your calculator, please. And I want you to type your equation in right here. So negative 0.5 x squared plus 4x plus 4.5. And then once you have that typed in, remember you can just go to your chart, look up the number that you want, and whatever the number is with that, that's your answer. Okay, but you have to be able to write the equation using your computer thing and then put it into the calculator. So if I want, what would the baseball's height be at 8 seconds? I'm gonna type my equation in right here. And then scroll down to 8. What is A's partner? What is 8's partner? 4.5 is correct. Okay. Okay. So for that last question, you're going to use the table on the calculator. All right, one more question left, and then you get your practice. Turn the page, please. Last one, number 4. Go ahead and put that data in. Okay, last one is number 4. Okay, and then if you kind of look at your dots here, you can see that they go uphill and then they go back downhill. Okay, uphill and then downhill. They go up and then down. Okay, so this is the first one where our R hasn't come out perfect. But it should be pretty close still. It should be 0.9997. So put in that last chart for me. Put a 1. And then let's see. The 1 will go down automatically. Now your Y1 is messed up. So hold on, put your plus C. Just finish up where you're at, plus C. And then go back to where your Y is, erase the 1 up top, and just make it a regular Y. And it'll subscript it. Yeah. Why did you make them all the way to the back space? Put your plus C back. And I think you're Sí. So, 0.999 es muy fuerza, pero no es perfecto. Perfecto es mi número. Well, sí. Okay, for your last question, let's finish this one up, please. Okay, so on your worksheet, you're going to write the equation. I'm only going to go to 1 decimal. You can go to 2 if you really feel like it, but I'm just going to do 1. So what was my A if I just put 1 decimal with it? Negative what? 5.25. And I'm just going to put the 2. I'm just going to do 1 decimal each time. Okay, then for the next one, plus, what was my B? 31.2x. And you could put 31.22. That's a little bit better if you go longer, but for your homework, you only have to do 1 decimal. Okay, and then the last one would be plus C is 10.0. Okay. Then from there, your correlation coefficient was 0.9997. Is it perfect?
No, it's strong.
No, but it is very strong. It's close to perfect. Okay, then last little bit of this asks you to do the domain and the range and to sketch your graph. So right here, I'm going to do a little graph sketch. I see over here on my screen that it goes uphill and then downhill. Uphill and then downhill. Okay, just like that. And then remember to find those marker points, you just have to click on the gray dot. So I'm going to click on this gray dot first. You don't even actually have to click on it. I just hovered over it. It's 0,10. And then highlight your top dot here. It's 2.9, 56. And then this number over here, just put your little dot on it, is 6.2. Okay. Then from there, for the domain, remember you're sliding the doors closed. So if I pinch my hands in on the sides, what am I staying between? What 2 numbers for the domain?
0 and 56.
Make sure you go all the way to the end.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be 6.2, yeah? Uh-huh. Between 0 and 6.2. Because that's your x-axis. And then for your range, instead of closing the doors, you're closing the windows this way. So it'd be from 0 till what? What's the high point? 56. So your y is between 0 and 56. Technically, it's 56.4. Okay. Questions on that? All right. You have 5 questions. The first 3 are exactly like what we just did. You're doing quadratic for all of them. Yeah. Okay, however, okay, so for 1 through 3, you're gonna do quadratic. That's what we just learned. So I'm gonna go ahead and write at the top on your practice here. For numbers 1, 2, and 3, you're doing this. Okay, write that down, just like on the notes, for numbers 1, 2, and 3. But now I want you, once you write that down, to go back and look at number 4. So for 1, 2, and 3, you're doing exactly what we did in the notes. But now turn the page and look at number 4 on the back. Okay, look at number 4. And you'll notice that they don't make a U shape. So look at your number 4. I'll come back to this. I see a couple of y'all are still writing. Okay, look at number 4. Is that making a U shape? For the 4th question right here? Is that a U? No. Out of your other 2 choices, is it a curve or a line?
Line.
The line, very good. So if your dots make a straight line like this, now they don't make a perfect straight line, but that means it's linear. And remember that for a linear graph, you do the mx plus b, not the ax squared plus bx, blah, blah, blah. So it should be y1 squiggle, mx1 plus b. So you're picking between these three choices based on the shape that the dots make. So if they make more of a straight line, you would do the one we learned last week. If they make a curve, you do the one we learned on Monday. And if they make a U shape, you'd do the one we learned today. Okay. All right, then if you graph the last one for number 5, okay, when you graph it, remember the different shapes. Linear is if it's a straight line. Exponential is a curve. And quadratic is a parabola. So you'll have to actually look at the picture to choose which model you're going to do. But remember, we wrote all the equations down at the top of your notes. So when you get there, if you need help, just ask me. Okay?